This part of the Banking with Life podcast episode that you're about to enjoy is freely available, as it always has been. The full episode is available to our clients at bankingwithlife.com and to Ryan's clients at griggscapitalstrategies.com. In this episode, I'm doing a commentary on a comment that was left on episode 240. That episode was titled Addressing Common IBC Objections. And so I had fun and hope you enjoy listening. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery. And today I am going to do a commentary on a comment that was left in December 2024. Now, you know, everybody and their brother wants to comment on the infinite banking concept. I get it. And it's really easy to do very low level, unthinking comments, which is fine. I just want to do a commentary on this comment, and I hope you enjoy listening. I think it'll be fun. Okay, so this comment, there was a comment left by Brad Boyd 395 on episode 240. The episode was addressing common IBC objections. Go figure. Like I said, it was released in December 2024. And so I thought it was a good episode, and I think this is a fair comment that the gentleman leaves. It's kind of long and rambling and a little bit confusing somewhat, but if you dissect it out, you know, he does, you know, make some comments. And that's what I'm going to comment on. Okay. His first statement was, assuming dividend plus guaranteed interest rate equal borrowing rate, there is little to no reason to do this. You can borrow against a policy, but you just take cash and invest it, which I guess that would be his comparison, but it's just better to take cash and invest it. And, you know, there's really an awful lot of assuming there, and I don't want to jump over this at all. Well, what is the guaranteed rate of a life insurance policy? And I would challenge him or anyone else to discover what that is and discover for yourself, not listening to other people tell you what it is, right? And then discover how you can compare, right? Everything in the world, I get it. The comparison is a thief of joy, but also comparison is can be a benefit and a tool, right? This compared to that, full honest comparison, and then you can make a more reasonable judgment when you're comparing things. Anyway, we're going to kind of get into that. So my question is, what is a guaranteed rate? You know, and what is the stated dividend rate? He said, assuming the dividend plus the guaranteed rate equals the borrowing rate, there's little to no comparison. And so he's got an element of arbitrage in here. And so he's assuming that there's a dividend rate or a guaranteed rate and the dividend rate, and you add those two together, and if it equals the borrowing rate, there's little to no reason to do this. And so in comparison, it is so true that when it comes to the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker, it's easy to try to make really simple points that are easy to say without any thought or reflection or any real discovery of what's even being said. So there's or understanding what's being said, right? So the assumption here, and I'm assuming, right, there's no reason to do that unless arbitrage exists. You know, in arbitrage, if I can borrow at 4, right, and I can earn 7, then I could go borrow money at 4% and invest it or put it wherever it earns 7, and I get the difference, 3, the arbitrage. I'm just taking advantage of, you know, difference in interest rates, which that exists in the investment world forever and has existed for a very long time. So it's, you know, that whole statement was just really narrowed down to one assumption, that there's little to no reason to do this, right? Unless you can take advantage of arbitrage. And I may be putting words in his mouth, but me, as I'm reading this, that's what it makes sense to me, that my assumption is safe, right? And I could be wrong. Okay. But then he rolls right into, well, you can borrow against a policy. Yes, you can borrow against a policy. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can. Well, if you have a cash value life insurance, a permanent policy, right, that has a cash value component, then that contract has a loan provision, which then allows you by guaranteed contract to borrow against that cash value. Okay, so he makes one kind of point there that's true, but that doesn't mean his other comments are therefore true as well, because he made that one positive or one correct comment. But then he says, just take the cash and invest it. Okay, well, then he's going off into the thinking that, well, a cash purchase is better than collateralizing life insurance to make a purchase, right? Look, when I borrow from the life insurance company and I'm collateralizing my cash value to do that, I'm going to go make a cash purchase. That's going to happen. We're talking about the banking function, right? And then would it benefit me, you, anyone to consider this idea of controlling the banking function by collateralizing cash value from the life insurance company with the properly structured dividend paying life insurance? And my short answer is yes, but that's me, after 33 years in the life insurance business, practicing the infinite banking concept about 20 years. I mean, I'm sure not practicing on you. I'm sure not practicing on our clients. And it may be of a benefit if you get past one point, boiling a decision down to one point. Okay, but I digress. So, but my questions are legitimate. What is the guaranteed rate? And what is the dividend rate? Well, then you'd, of course, want to know what the loan interest charge is, and you would want to know how loans work with policies. And I may be going too far here just on a simple, two sentence question or statement. Like direct recognition, non-direct recognition does matter. But this is going to be a two-part series, and there's going to be a lot more in part 2 in our learning center at bankingwithlife.com. If you, enjoyed this first part, I hope you do. And if you do, thank you. If you don't, God bless you. But if you do and you want to get to part 2, you got to go to the learning center to get that. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in there. Okay. So, he's, the innuendo is it doesn't make any sense unless you take advantage of arbitrage, and and maybe you can take advantage of arbitrage sometimes, depending on what it depends on what the loan interest rate is and what the rate is set by the Fed. They set the interest rates across the economy. But when you are able to take advantage of arbitrage, those are relatively short periods of time. I know we're coming out of a 15-year low interest rate environment, and there might have been some opportunity, a lot more opportunity during that time period to take advantage of arbitrage. But the infinite banking concept is not predicated upon arbitrage. It is not, right? Interest rates could be higher from the loan, from the life insurance company, getting a loan from the life insurance, those interest rates can be higher than I can go down to the local bank and get. Doesn't negate the benefit of the infinite banking concept. It is just what it is. All right. But the infinite banking concept has a lot more characteristics. And my encouragement is always to consider the characteristics, not boiling it down to just one point. Okay, so and he's just saying he does not understand life insurance, and he sure doesn't understand the infinite banking concept, yet he's commenting, and it's like, okay. And this cash-on-cash comparison is flawed. Everything you purchase is financed, period. Whether you write a check for it or you actually send cash, everything is financed. And again, we're talking about controlling the banking function, right? And yeah, I get it. Interest rates don't matter. Well, they do matter if it's your capital, your money. You want to understand what the guaranteed rate is and the dividend rate. You want to understand all that. I'm going to go deeper into on part 2 on how to take a life insurance policy. How do you calculate the value of that, the increasing value of that, and compare it to other assets? Okay. But I must say, this is a classic example of speaking with prior contempt. And it's likely based on someone else's comments that he's previously been exposed to, probably within the infinite banking footprint. Right? So he's probably, I don't know what he's done or what he hasn't done, but it's a fair assumption on my part that he's listened to some of these clickbaity marketing things that live within the infinite banking footprint and potentially lazy in language, or maybe they just spoke. I'm not trying to be hard on them. But he hasn't listened beyond. He hasn't looked into the infinite banking concept. And that would be my encouragement, is for you to look into it. If you have an interest of it, just learn, and don't learn from drive-by comments or even a 20-minute, podcast episode, whether it's video or audio, or a 10 or 15 or 30-minute, well put together presentation to get you to purchase something. Okay. But these are pretty ambiguous assumptions. They're narrowed down to just really sound bites that we're all exposed to. But when you make a decision, right, with prior contempt, without investigation, I love this quote, Herbert Spencer. It's attributed to Herbert Spencer. And he says that there's a principle which is bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. And this principle is contempt prior to investigation. So he's already made up his mind, wherever he got his information, that the infinite banking concept or using life insurance policies to control the banking function is a bad thing. Well, God bless him. I would encourage him to rethink, his position. And essentially, it also, his whole statement here proves Nelson's statement was accurate. Most people's understanding of life insurance is based on someone else's misconception. And man, I know you got to make a lot of decisions in your life on multiple things, but don't make them with contempt prior to investigation. And don't make them based on someone else's misunderstanding. Okay? All right. But then throughout his comment, he projects onto this, on the episode 20 or on episode 240, he projects all of these things that he may or may not have heard within the infinite banking footprint. I don't know where he's heard them, but he projects all of that onto episode that we released in 240, which I think he should do better. He could do better. Okay. All right. As I continue, and that was really longer than I wanted it to go. I'll try to, speed up, but listen, put me on 1.5 or 2 times speed. I know I speak slow. I get it. And I'm okay with that. Right. And I just ask for grace, but put me on 1.5, 2 point, what have you. He continues, but the tax advantage, okay, take cash and invest it to buy muni bonds. So he's still stuck on the idea that cash is king, right? And I believe cash is king, right? But he's stuck on the idea that cash buying is the only way to purchase. And then put your money in muni bonds. So he's giving investment advice as well. Perfect. The tax advantage of muni bonds. Yep. There's a tax advantage, tax-free muni bonds, right? Issued by municipalities. Since he's giving investment advice, he ought to go a little bit deeper. There's a direct correlation between interest rates and bond values. Interest rates go up, bond values go down. You can't control the interest rate. Neither can he. Neither can I. So how do you address that? If you're just going to throw a bunch of money into muni bonds to avoid federal income tax, tax-free muni bonds, you're just avoiding, and mostly state and federal income taxes, right? Okay. Well, every financial tool or product has characteristics. Life insurance has a lot of characteristics. That's my encouragement. Discover the characteristics of life insurance. And then that's just a characteristic of muni bonds or any bond value, right? Muni bonds are just tax-free, issued by municipalities. Any bond, every bond value, there is a direct correlation between bond values and interest rates. As interest rates go up, bond values go down. Period. interest rates go down, bond values come up. Well, if we're coming out of a 15-year interest rate low environment, what do you think is happening to bond values right now? And has been, right? Being called, whatever, no, they're not being called of, look, interest rates go up, bond values go down. All right. So we're coming out of a 15-year interest rate low environment, interest rates up, bond values are down. You got to consider that characteristic of bonds if you're going to put money into bonds. Okay. Again, life insurance has a lot of characteristics, and if you're going to own it, you'd want to be aware of a good majority of them. Right? At least get a good solid understanding of what life insurance can do for you in light of the characteristics. You shouldn't try to make it something that it's not. There's no question about that. Just consider the characteristics of life insurance, and then don't pick or choose or on a singularity of characteristics, right? Okay. And then 2, he had it right when he used the word invest in muni bonds, because it's an absolute investment, right? Subject to loss, right? And he even gets into that a little bit later, which we're going to talk about. There is an absolute difference between saving and investing. Don't confuse the two. I know we all get lazy in language within the financial world. There is a difference between saving and investing, and they both have unique characteristics, all right? Okay. And we do not, if I continue on that, we do not invest in life insurance unless you have variable universal life, right? Unless you have a universal life product and we talked about universal life in many areas, and even in the Learning Center. There's 2 fundamental components of universal life. There's an account that earns interest, and then there's a cost of insurance, right? With variable universal life, that is an investment. You have to have a securities license to write it, right? Why? Because it's an investment. Why is it an investment? The sub-accounts act like mutual funds, and with an investment, you're subject to loss, right? There is a difference between savings and investing. Don't confuse the two. Just recognize that there's a difference, all right, and understand the characteristics of each. Then he continues, but perpetual compounding, just automatically reinvest the bond interest. So he's continuing, invest in muni bonds. So the direct reinvestment program, and you can do that with stocks. You can do that with a lot of products out there where you get a dividend. You have the dividend directly reinvested. It's just a direct reinvestment program. It's a DRIP. And can you do that? Yes, you can. He's not addressing the banking function at all other than paying cash. Excuse me. And then, therefore, his comparison is flawed by its incompleteness, right? But, he's predetermined to not like life insurance or not like maybe he's repelled by the marketing that goes on within the infinite banking footprint. I don't know. But a properly structured dividend paying life insurance has a component similar to the DRIP, where if the life insurance policy earns a dividend and the dividend is paid, you can have the dividend paid into the paid up additions rider. Go straight to cash. There's no charge on it. Buys additional paid up death benefit and additional cash. So the dividend goes straight to cash in the paid up additions rider, buys death benefit, goes to cash. It increases the earnings on the policy, or increases exponentially over time the increasing cash value. And it even causes future dividends to be higher as compared to taking the dividend and spending it, right? Then he goes on, he's like, but the guarantee, munis are also guaranteed. No? Oh, no, they are. Yeah. The municipal bonds are guaranteed by the municipality who issues the bonds. They're making the guarantee. Okay, well, do you think Fort Worth, Texas is flush with money? San Diego, California, New York, You just think that through. The entity must issue bonds because they have so much capital. They don't have to go borrow money, which is exactly what any entity is doing. Is when they issue a bond, they're borrowing money. It's a clear case in point of they're not capitalized or they're undercapitalized. All right, but it's an ordinary practice, and I'm not beating up the practice. I'm just saying, that's kind of ironic. I've got so much capital, I have to go borrow more. And don't misunderstand. I mean, there's a wonderful place. Bonds have beautiful characteristics. They serve a purpose. I'm just making a side point. And then, okay, so how is a bond guaranteed if the municipality is broken? Everybody lending them money knows they're broke. Well, they do have the ability to tax. What they do is they go out and buy insurance. What? The municipality buys insurance on the municipal bond in case of a default. The insurer indemnifies the bondholder. Just think that through. Right. Oh, the insurance company is actually fulfilling the indemnification process if that comes, in fact, to fruition. They default. Yeah. Oh, wait. The bond default rate, the muni bond default rate is really historically low. Most of them do not default, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of municipalities who have issued bonds and then defaulted on the bonds. What? Well, no wonder they want to go and insure them against default. I mean, you can't make this up. And the biggest one that comes to my mind is Puerto Rico in 2017. Yep, people lost money there. Okay. Again, he speaks of things he clearly doesn't know. He doesn't wish to know, or he would maybe do a little research before he speaks. I don't know. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I'm thankful that he made a comment that I can do a commentary on, and I can drag it out over 2 parts and get really deeper in part 2 in our learning center. I get to promote our website and traffic to the website, whatever. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak on these things because these are very, they're typical. I don't want to say common, but they're very typical in our thinking. Okay, he continues, the insurance company guarantee is better. Been around for 100 years. Huh? Honestly, think about what you're saying. The full faith and credit of the U.S. government and the United States is higher quality than any insurance company. To quote him, I must say, huh? It's like, well, I kind of just went through the guarantee, who guarantees the muni bonds and what happens when they do default, even though the default rate is low. There is history of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of municipal bonds defaulting, and then how they could be indemnified, the bond holders, through another insurance company. Okay. So I don't know where he gets the insurance company guarantee is better. I think wherever he heard that, he heard it. He didn't hear it from me or in the episode 240 that he's commenting on. I don't know where he got it. And I really, frankly, don't care. But what a straw man argument, too. So it's just a straw man argument that, he's like, the insurance company guarantee is better. I went to, I don't know where I went. Like, what is really the definition of a straw man argument? A straw man argument is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone misrepresents an opponent's argument to make it easier to attack. The term straw man comes from the idea that a scarecrow is a weak opponent that can be easily defeated. So he makes an argument that wasn't even made. He's like creating an argument on a point that wasn't made. So he can talk about the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. So he attempts to apply his misunderstanding just generically and very broadly. Okay, again, look, if a bond is insured, it's insured, or if a bond is guaranteed by the issuing entity. And I'm just saying most entities, most municipalities, most governmental entities are broke, and then they go and buy default insurance on the bond. So the bondholder does have some assurances that even if the entity defaults, they're going to be made whole. Okay. I want to talk about insurance company guarantees for a minute, and I'll break it down even further in part 2. When a life insurance company issues a life insurance policy, whomever issued it, the issuing life insurance company, they make the guarantees of that contract. It is a contract. They make the guarantees. And those guarantees are backed up by their claims paying ability. How much capital do they have? All right. So there are the guarantees from a life insurance company issued by the issuing life insurance company. Okay, no, he does. He goes on. If an insurance company goes under, it is the Fed that bails them out or lets them default. Remember, the U.S. government is a sovereign entity in which insurance companies exist. And no, it's not true. The federal government does not guarantee an insurance company if they default. No. Life insurance companies are regulated by the state. And so the state regulators determine whether they're going, and they provide the secondary guarantee, right? The state. If an insurance company becomes insolvent, that's determined by the state. And then the actions after that determination are made by the state in which the life insurance company is domiciled in. And so they're either going to rehabilitate it or they're going to liquidate it. It's not the federal government. So that the Brad Boy here has no knowledge of the life insurance guarantees and apparently limited knowledge of the federal government, Uncle Guido, what Uncle Guido guarantees and doesn't guarantee. I'm just going to make an observational point that Uncle Guido is going to raise your taxes because they don't have any money. Okay. So, okay. Then if this is true, what this young man is saying, I don't know how old he is. He surely would have no strategy he would have nothing in place, right? If he doesn't know that a bond issuer can default, I mean, you're just going to deal with that if it happens. I mean, he sure hadn't thought about it if he doesn't know it exists or it could exist. The young guy has a lot of comments, but he has no idea who the characters in the play are. Okay. All right. And he continues, before the U.S. goes under, it has taxing authority that it could apply to a company. So it is a completely absurd argument to suggest a life insurance guarantee is better than state or sovereign guarantees. Maybe he does have an idea of who. Okay. It is categorically false to suggest that. I would be delighted to debate anyone that believes insurance guarantees versus are better than government guarantees. I am happy to cite related legal statutes. Well, I guess he can Google, and I kind of, his explanation of taxation and the sovereign. I mean, oh my gosh, yes, they have every entity, every regulating the state, the city, the county, the federal. Those levels of government absolutely have the ability to tax. That's part of the problem. No, and it's a big part of the problem, right? I mean, how do you say, I'm a statist without saying I'm a statist? I don't know. I'm just like, get up, son. Okay. And then talk about a straw man argument. He offers to debate that federal guarantees are better than life insurance company guarantees. I mean, I don't know where he heard that. I don't care. He didn't hear it on that episode. But you're going to debate on something that you don't even know much about. I don't know. And then he offers to recite legal statutes. I mean, he's already given investment advice. Maybe now he wants to give legal advice, or maybe he just wants to reference. I don't know. It's like, how about, I mean, to me, when I ask, how do you say I'm a statist without saying I'm a statist? I'm implying, in fact, that he's a statist very directly, right? And how much do you want Uncle Guido controlling your money? How much of that do you want? I don't want any, thank you. And yes, the federal government does provide a lot of things, but there's a dang lot of things they don't provide. Okay, and I think free economy among men could exist quite handedly without overgrown governments. Okay, then he continues, but you can use your money in two places. Go back to what I said earlier. If the policy rate equals a borrowing rate, ... Think about it. There is no meaningful benefit, just added complexity. Now, I would say that there is a level of complexity if you do the infinite banking concept, or you have a solid foundation or understanding of the infinite banking concept. But that's all it is a very slight added level of complexity above just go pay cash. Okay. So it's not there. It is not complex. Is there a level deeper than just go pay cash for something? Yes. And then he continues, money in two places. Refer back to the first statement. Again, I don't know where he gets this. I don't. We don't talk about money existing in two places. As a matter of fact, I think it's a violation of physics for a physical object to exist in two places, separate places, at the same time. Oh, wait, even in a singular place at the same time. As a matter of fact, according to classical physics, a thing cannot exist in two places at the same time. This is based on the concept of impenetrability, which states that two objects cannot occupy the same space simultaneously. However, in quantum physics, tiny particles can exist in a state called a superposition. Okay, well, we're not doing quantum physics. We're practicing the infinite banking concept, right? I don't know where he gets the idea or who said. I'm sure he's heard somebody say, oh, you can do this and it doesn't even exist over here. I don't know. But this is so not esoteric. All right, so he failed earlier, in my humble opinion, of practicing law. He failed earlier, in my humble opinion, in giving investment advice. And I'm pretty sure he would fail physics. I don't know. And I'm not even trying to be ugly to the guy. I'm truly not. I appreciate the comments. And I appreciate the comments because I can take time to do recordings of audio and video and just to talk about these things. My gosh, just think through what is really going on. Okay, he continues. Are there benefits of IBC? Question mark. Sure. The legacy transfer is legit. Thanks for your approval, Brad Boyd. And of course you are buying life insurance. So there's that. There's no question that you're buying life insurance. None. Zero. You're buying life insurance. If you're going to practice the infinite banking concept as taught by R. Nelson Nash, you're actually going to buy, purchase, and own dividend-paying whole life insurance issued by a mutual company or a mutual holding company. All right? We can talk more about that later. Are these benefits, question mark, confusing life insurance? He is confusing life insurance, a product, with the infinite banking concept. IBC, right? Infinite, not finite, banking, the movement of money, concept, an abstract idea. All right, but just because it's an abstract idea doesn't mean it's complex, so complex that you can't understand. Is I'm saying take the time to read and learn what the infinite banking concept really is and what it can really do for you. And this stuff to me is just part of the noise. And he's been swimming in the noise on the pro and con, the pro side, people pro infinite banking concept, and the people that are against the infinite banking concept. Within the financial world, there are plenty of noise on both sides. All right. Well, the fact is, everything that you don't give away or spend while you're alive, you're going to leave to someone else. Everything. And life insurance is a tool to make that more efficient. Okay? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we're buying life insurance. Acknowledge that. He continues, how about for investors using in tandem with high income asset classes? Now he's creating a whole new asset class out of whole cloth. Pray tell, what is a high income asset class? What is that? I mean, I'm not, I'm not a rocket scientist. You can't imagine how much financial education I participated in. And I'm not done, and I haven't done it all. But not one time have I ever learned about an asset class that was titled, named, or even referred to as a high income asset class. Here he failed physics. He failed the legal aspects of his inquiry. I mean, he failed physics, and now he's going to talk about money and just creating out of whole cloth a whole new asset class. Okay, I digress again. Yes. So how about investors using in tandem with high income asset classes? Yes. What you can do is offset earned income with interest expense related to the loan. Now he's just giving more tax advice. Can you really do that? If so, how? Right? Just because you heard a great presentation, it could be done. It can be done within limits. All right. Just go ask your CPA how go have that conversation with your CPA, not online. Okay. In fact, this may be the only tangible benefit, legacy transfer, but it could be handled in other ways, and life insurance can be purchased via term. Oh, here's half the argument of buy term and invest the difference. Buy term and invest the rest, right? And then pay cash for all your purchases, right? That's the underlying thread throughout his comment, right? Well, you can do that. There's no question. Term, what is that? It's for a specified period of time. What happens when the term runs out? What happens when the term runs out one day and you die the next day? Yeah, you've had the pleasure of having that term in force all of those years and the privilege of paying all that premium. But you died without life insurance is what happened. My advice is offset earned income with loan expenses. Huh? Really? Giving advice in physics, law, taxes, tax planning. It's like, my gosh. I mean, I truly don't know why some people take the time to comment, good or bad. It's just, but I'm glad you did, Boyd. Brad. Okay. He continues, but here's the thing, and this is important. You must continue to borrow against policy and invest in the asset classes of choice, or you will eventually be worse off than simply taking cash and investing. There it is again. Just pay cash. So this is important, quote unquote. You must continue to borrow against policy and invest in the asset class of choice. That is a hard, not true. A life insurance properly structured, issued by a dividend-paying life insurance company, a mutual company, that thing will do very well just go to bankingwithlife.com or go to the YouTube channel and look up an episode that was released in probably February 2025. Greg. Oh my gosh, it speaks to a lot of what he's talking about here. You don't have to do anything. As a matter of fact, a banker can do whatever they want. And he who has the gold makes the rules. We're talking about systematic formation of capital that you own and control or control. Okay, we'll get into that. It's just yet another confirmation of lack of knowledge and trying to squeeze down the whole life permanent type insurance compared to by term and invested difference. And it's just not true. It's not an either or. If you have access to capital on a contractual guaranteed basis that has primary guarantees and secondary guarantees, then you can do whatever you want with that capital. You can get mad and quit. You can leverage it, whether you're taking advantage of arbitrage or not, and go buy any investment that you want. And I've seen lots of people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency, real estate, and all. And I know other people that have made millions in real estate, and I'm told they make a lot of money in cryptocurrency. I'm not bashing cryptocurrency. You got to sell it, and I don't know very many sellers, right, to realize the gain. Okay, I digress. Okay. You do not have to borrow against a policy. Yes, you can control the banking function if you have adequate capital in which to collateralize, no question. And if you did, you would profit from that activity. Right? And you can learn about that in the Learning Center. Just restating a fallacy that cash, quote unquote, investing is always better than the infinite banking concept. It's not true. It is not. Okay. For example, he continues, if you invest in real estate, which many use in tandem with IBC, or he's told they do, right? He doesn't. But he assumes that a lot of people do, and I'm sure many people do, right? You just go to the local real estate investment RIA, and there'll be an IBC expert in there. And I've said for years, you walk into a room full of people and just mention IBC, and you're the freaking expert because no one else knows anything about it. So, and I participate in RIAs. I've spoken at many of them over the years. I have real estate, love real estate, got clients all across the country that do real estate. I'm just pointing out that this man doesn't have any real estate, and he'll prove that out later in his statements. Okay. For example, if you invest in real estate, which many use in tandem with IBC, when the investment, hopefully in parentheses, pays off and you return the assets to your policy, you need to find another investment relatively soon, borrow and reinvest. If you do not, you will eventually find yourself behind the investor that simply takes from one real estate investment and move to the next. This is easy to see in a simple spreadsheet. I am not shocked that he wants to reduce a life insurance policy, the numbers, the tabular detail of a life insurance policy, and try to put it on a Excel spreadsheet. Many have tried and failed, and you're never going to be accurate because you and I don't know the dividend formulary that the life insurance companies use, and you're not going to know. It's proprietary. Now you can use a lot of assumptions, right, and get kind of close, but it's never going to be 100% accurate. But it's okay. Even the life insurance illustration is not 100% accurate because the future is unknown. But I digress. I just want to break this down a little bit. That this is where he's clearly telling you he knows nothing about real estate. Right. Number one, he hopes the real estate pays off, and I hope it does too. And I know they don't always win. And then you need to return the asset to your policy. Well, man, you're getting a lot done in those 5 words, right? You got to go sell that piece of real estate, convert it to cash, and then return the cash to the life insurance policy through a loan repayment. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. You're not going to stuff a piece of real estate, a property, into a life insurance policy. And I talk a little bit about private placement life, in part 2. So And then you must go and do it again immediately, or you're going to be worse off than the guy paying cash. It's not true. It's not true. You can go to Becoming Your Own Banker, CD Sisters, on any of them. But Ryan and I were talking about the CD Sisters the other day in an episode that'll be released shortly. And where I want to go. Hold on. Let me just find it. CD Sisters, there's a tabular detail on page 45, Becoming Your Own Banker, 5th edition, right? And there's illustrations in there, and I'm not encouraging you to go get beat up on the illustrations. As a matter of fact, this book was printed in 2000, and what you can do today in 2025 compared to the way Nelson did it in 2000 is different. But this just demonstrates the first 14 years, CD Sisters. Nelson's just demonstrating financing a car with a life insurance policy. After 7 years of delay, they could have financed a car in year 4 compared to formally financing the car. All right. And so one thing that this young man hasn't developed yet, I would suspect, and I'm truly not trying to crack on him, it's all in love, is this delayed gratification. Nelson didn't demonstrate financing a car in CD Sisters until the end of the 7th year. He spent 7 years capitalizing. He did it on purpose. He wanted to have a separation between the capitalization phase and financing. Does that mean you have to wait? No. Same way with the equipment financing. Illustration number 1. If we want to go there for a moment, page 54, Becoming Your Own Banker, 5th edition. He capitalized that system for 4 years, and then started financing. He could have started financing in year 2. All right. But he didn't have to immediately. Nelson demonstrates financing regularly, no question. But in not one case did they have to go out and immediately put more capital to work, which that mindset does exist within the infinite banking footprint, that you've got to go do something. And that's not true. And it is also not true, this young man's statement, where the guy who invests in real estate and pays cash for everything comes out ahead. No, I even went to CD Sisters because after the 14th year, it's clear in that example that the sisters win by financing a car with a life insurance policy. Very clear. And the further out you go, the clearer it becomes. I know it's difficult to look into next week. I know it's difficult to look beyond next month. I get that it's difficult to be able to look 5 years or 10 years into the future. I get it. But it's worth taking the time, in my humble opinion, to consider everything that you're going to purchase going forward, that you can consider now, right? And then how you're going to do it. And then if you keep considering, just think about how much you are earning, how much in profits you're giving to the banking system, and it's staggering over time. Okay. And then everything cannot live on a spreadsheet. All right. So I'm not surprised that, he wants to refer to a spreadsheet. That's very typical as well. Okay. He continues, if you would like transparent, honest details on this subject, feel free to reach out. I am investor and unrelated to insurance industry. My gosh, he's failed at physics. He's failed at the law. Prima facie. Just read what he said. He has failed at investment advice. He has failed at tax planning. And he wants you to reach out on a subject that he clearly has no understanding of, nor interest in understanding, on the infinite banking concept. Man. Okay. And here's what it is. That was my comment. My main advice, do all of your own analysis on this concept before implementing. If you would like an honest, in all caps honest, it's like, really? Yeah, I mean, I guess that was me. If you'd like honest, okay, it's no. I mean, I wouldn't even refer to you to write something for me, much less law, taxes, life insurance, investing, bonds, real estate. Yeah, I'm out. Okay. The offer that it appears to have little or no value, as he clearly does not have any knowledge of life insurance. I agree. The one thing that I agree with this young man, which I don't even think took for himself, right, is to do all of your own analysis. I agree with him, and that would be my encouragement. If he would have done any analysis, I don't believe he'd have ever written this. But he's embracing cliches and innuendos and arguments based on very finite singular points and other people's misconceptions. I, James Neathery, agree that people want transparency. I agree that they want honesty. I know when I'm interested in something, a subject, especially when it comes to my capital, the benefit of my family, my family's assets, I want honesty. I want transparency. No question. And you see what you get here. You want to call my office? Please call my office. Question them. See how honest they are. See how transparent they are. And that's not a challenge. I'm just saying, of course we all want that. And then I would just say, if you engage with us, that's what you're going to get. Honesty and transparency. However, to be drugged through all of this, I hope I can at least save you some time, right? In your research and your analysis. Go to our learning center. When you identify or when you see things like this, just read through and think about what they're saying and what they're implying. And, I think it'll help you. It'll benefit you. Anyway, that was part 1. It went a lot longer than I thought it would go. Part 2 is going to be hopefully shorter. I don't know, but it'll be fun. Thank you for listening. So this is where we're going to end part 1. Part 2 exists in the Learning Center at bankingwithlife.com. If you would like to listen to it, go and enjoy. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.